UFC Houston Fight Day live chat. It is so awesome. We had a weekend off from the UFC, but we finally are back in the thick of things. And I think there's like 11 or 12 straight cards that we got coming up in terms of consecutive weekends. I think we have every weekend from now until at least April 28th or something like that. April 20, I think April 28th is the last date we have on the schedule thus far. Maybe there will be one at the beginning of May, but I'm glad to finally get in. Sorry, I do have the Cage Warriors fights on in the background. I should absolutely mute that in my ears so I can actually give you guys all the attention that you guys deserve. But yeah, very happy to finally have a UFC card on the docket here. Card kicks off at 5 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of good fights to go through. There's 14 fights to talk about. There's a lot of interesting aspects to some of these fights, a lot of violent spots as well. I remember when we did the Fight Day live chat, or sorry, not the Fight Day live chat, but when we did the Tuesday live stream, we counted how many fights are actually favored to finish inside the distance. And I believe 9 of the 14 fights are favored to finish inside the distance. So there should be a lot of violence on the card today, a lot of under 1.5s that could end up cashing. All in all, I got 10 total plays for this card. That's including the lock of the night play that I dropped on the best bets segment for you guys earlier this week in the form of Ali B. Idris. And then I have 9 other plays as well. I will be dropping a free play on my Instagram page. You can go to MMALOTN on Instagram. I already released my Locky review on Thursday, which gives you guys a few more things to check out, or at least a few more spots to check out. And then I'll be dropping my free play when I drop my pick sheet for on Instagram. I'll be doing that after I get off the live stream here with you guys. You guys can see the IG free play that I'm going to have over there too. So I got a lot of free shit out there for you guys. But if you want to find out what exactly all 10 plays are, make sure you guys check out the MMA LOTN Patreon page. Linked that in the description below. All right, solid UFC Houston card, like I said, coming up here. 14 fights that were going to be presented with obviously big time middleweight matchup in the main event. Anthony Hernandez, Sean Strickland, very fun fight there. Pace versus pace. That was kind of the title of my Locky review this week because you got the striking pace of Strickland, you got the grappling pace of Hernandez. It's going to be interesting to see who actually comes out ahead there and whether Strickland can fend off the grappling of Hernandez, how long he can fend it off for, and if he can fend it off, can he be the one to dictate the pace and really get to a striking game and wear Anthony Hernandez down there. So I ended up passing on the chalk. I'll just say it straight up. I think it's just a little bit too chalky. We have to give Strickland some respect. You know, there was that time where he came in as a big underdog against Israel Adesanya, wins the title, wins that fight dominantly, and then a lot of people started loving him after that fight. But then obviously with the recent run that Hernandez has been on, a lot of people, jumping on the fluffy train now and forcing that lineup much wider than I think it should be. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. The spot that I was really happy about was intrigued by, I should say, was the over 4.5, which is roughly around minus 160. I'd be surprised if either guy finishes the other, which is why I wouldn't mind that. That obviously took steady action throughout the week as well. Earlier in the week, roughly around minus 125. Now it's up to about minus 160, minus 170, depending on the bookie that you have access to. And there's been a lot of line movement this week. There's been a lot. You obviously got a ton of money coming in on Sergey Spivak the last couple of weeks. Sorry, I just want to test this out here. Okay, yeah, just making sure. Sometimes my StreamYard messes up the chat function, so I want to make sure that not StreamYard, Streamlabs kind of messes up the chat option there. So, yeah. Yeah, a lot of love coming in on Sergey Spivak. That fight is down to pretty much a pick'em now. There's a lot of love coming in on Punahali Soriano, who's a slight favorite now. Brahimai got up to about minus 150. Now he's down to plus 105. So a lot of love, like I said, coming in on the Soriano side of things. A lot of line movement this week, right? I know there's always that instance that people will like try to be like, oh, there's possible fight fixing going on in some of these spots. I don't like entertaining any of that shit. If it is, some sort of fight fixing, I trust in the UFC's ability now to kind of nip it in the bud, just as we've seen in, the Michael Johnson and Alexander Hernandez fight. And then obviously it's going to be more and more now, if we start to see more of it. I'd be surprised if any fighter is dumb enough to try to do it now, especially considering, the ramifications that are starting to come with it. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes. My guy JK in the chat saying, how do we like Neal over 1.5? I like the under, man. It was roughly around minus 155 on Pinnacle earlier this morning. I like the under. Medic is a guy that's going to instigate here, and I think Neal has a bit of a newfound confidence. I know he got knocked out by Carlos Praches last time around, but I really kind of read into that Instagram post that he made about his challenges with addiction and all that stuff, and now getting clean and getting to a point where he can actually be 100% accountable, actually maybe perform at the highest level that we've seen him perform at in a long time. And I think that's going to be him, utilizing his speed, utilizing his power. And I think that eventually leads to him finding that big knockout here over Medic. Again, Medic never seen the scorecards, only ever been in the third round once in his career. Most of his fights finishing in the first round, probably second round as well. And obviously we know that gets harder to do this the higher up in competition you step up. But just the way these guys clash here, I feel like Neal will be able to use his speed, find that counter to put Medic away, and have major success there. So, I'm leaning more so the under there. I'm never going to talk anybody off of the over, off of plus money. So I'm sure you're getting, plus 130-ish for that over 1.5. But Medic fights is very dangerous, man. This guy's quite aggressive, has big power, but also has a bit of a durability issue in a sense too. So just the way that fight matches up, I got to go under instead of the over there. So just kind of my thoughts on that particular matchup. Just a reminder, folks, I will be going live to watch the fights with you guys as well, starting off at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be going live right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hop on in for that if you guys want to chill. We'll have some drinks. We'll chill. We'll talk about the bets that we have and all that stuff. So make sure you guys swing on by for that. It's a members-only chat. So I do have a $2 YouTube thing where it's like, pay $2 a month, and we do watch parties at least twice a month, minimum twice a month. And the reason behind the members only thing, I don't want to have to worry about trolls and dumbasses coming into the chat and fucking things up and spamming shit. And I feel like we're slowly building a solid community there. And one thing that I kind of want to do every time, something that I figured out that I could do last time, and I don't know if the time has kind of lapsed at this point in time or not, but give out you can gift memberships. Apparently, you can gift 5 memberships at a time, up to 10 per month. So, when I get a decent amount of people in the chat watching the fights, then I'll actually go out there and, hit that gift membership, and hopefully we can get even more people in there as well. So we had a good time last time around for UFC 325. That was the last watch party I did. Hope to see a lot of you guys back in there as well, because it should be a fun time. And we got some solid fights, right? It's not like it's a lackluster card. For a fight night card, this is actually pretty good, especially when you consider the main event and the stakes that are attached to it. I'm very excited for it. And then all the bangers under it as well. Even the one that doesn't have the most name value in the main card between Josiah Harrell and Jacoby Smith, I'm very excited about that fight. That's a solid fight between two rising prospects, two guys that are largely they are undefeated through their pro and amateur careers, and they kind of are the similar archetype of fighter. high-level wrestlers, but also have crazy knockout power. And I really want to see if Smith's wrestling advantage can help him get those positions that he normally gets when he starts to get uncomfortable. He just normally goes for a takedown, but Harrell is a guy that does not give up bad positions for long periods of time. So I'm interested to see how he's going to be able to perform. I know he's coming in on a bit of short notice as well, but should still be a fun fight in terms of how those guys match up. And you could also get Harrell at like plus 280, which I think is a crazy line. Again, I know Jacoby Smith is a high-level prospect, a guy with solid wrestling experience, big power as well, trains out of a great gym, but Harrell could be one of those guys that, until the opportunity presents itself, he's not going to be able to show how good he actually is, and this is one of those instances. So very much looking forward to that. Got a decent amount of people in here. Make sure you guys drop some comments, some questions. If you criticize any of the picks that you heard me say earlier this week, please let me hear it. That's what the Fight Day live chat is for. It's for you guys, chatting it up, yucking it up with the chat as much as possible for a full hour. Then I chill for a little bit, and then I come back for the watch party at 5 p.m. Eastern. So please do. Let me know your thoughts. What are you guys playing today? What are you guys leaning today? What are you guys trying to fade today? Let me know in the comment or in the live chat there. I do have a very small play on the big Brazilian underdog currently fighting for Cage Warriors. Landing some decent damage, but I just don't like that he's constantly on the back foot, being walked down. Looks like he landed some decent damage in that first round, even cut his opponent up. But since then, it's kind of just looked like his opponent walking him down, and Silva just kind of having to counter-strike here. Not having the most success, so it's kind of looking like, with the time winding down, that it's going to be 2-1 for McKenna here. Maybe 3-0. I wasn't paying the most attention to that first round. I kind of just saw Silva landing damage and opening up the cut on McKenna in round one, but it's looking like McKenna is probably going to end up winning here. But I think Silva was like plus 380 or something like that, and I felt there's some solid value there. McKenna, not a good fighter in my opinion, right? Got absolutely squashed in his last fight, and there was probably a huge skill disadvantage for him in that matchup against Alex Keogh, but still, like, even the tape that I saw on him, not the greatest, being dragged deep into the third round against an 0-8 fighter to finally beat him there. Not a good look, in my opinion, at all. Let's see here. Let's see the any other line movement that's been going on for this Houston card. There's also KSW going down. I believe that's going down as we speak. I do have one play over there, which I dropped on the Patreon page, but that's not more so until the middle of the card. Excuse me. Let's see what other line movement is going on here with the UFC. Judice all the way up at minus 805. I know a lot of people love them some Judice here, but I kind of still question her grappling a little bit. I know a lot of people are leaning on Miller's performance against Damian McKenna wins by liver shot KO with about 30 seconds left. I'd love to see what the scorecards are on that, but still. Tough. Yeah, a lot of people love Judice. I think if you think she wins at a minus 800 clip, you think that she's going to get the knockout, so the under 2.5, probably the better way to go at minus 155. But the thing is with Miller, people keep looking at that Luana Santos fight. She's made legitimate improvements and changes since that matchup, hence why she came out so strong in that Ivana Petrovic fight. And I've seen some decent enough defensive work from Judice with the grappling game, but Miller has that weird strength to her that she might be able to work to some tough positions that Judice might struggle to get out of. But again, Miller is just such a liability on the feet, so I can understand why people are so high on Judice, but minus 800, that seems a little bit wide for my liking. Del Valle, chalk. Lebozniani kind of stuck around minus 210 this entire time. Again, Brahimai going from about minus 140 down to about plus 105 now, so a lot of money coming in on Soriano. I personally like the unders there, the under 2.5, sitting around minus 160. Jocelyn Edwards been sitting at minus 400 this entire time. Kind of makes sense. I liked her submission prop around plus 750. Korea versus Gurule is one of those weird fights where I feel like Gurule is kind of being overlooked, but he just hasn't really done much in the UFC to justify taking a shot on him as a big dog. He was a guy I was very high on coming into the UFC, but he just hasn't shown up, and it's looked very, very bad, honestly. Alibi Idris is another guy who's kind of taken some reverse action. He was minus 160-ish late last week, and a lot of love coming in on Osborne to push Idris down to minus 130. I still think Idris does work, honestly. Obviously, we know the Chidi and Jaquani line movement all week. He was up about plus 170. Now he went down to even about plus 105-ish. Now he's up to a plus 125. Michel Pereira has taken steady action throughout the week. That fight was closer to a pick'em. Now he's up to minus 160. Ante Delia, Sergey Spivak, similar thing there. Delia about minus 160 earlier in the week. Now minus 115. So a lot of love coming in on Spivak there. The Costa and EA line has kind of stayed the same throughout the week. Same with Neal and Medic. And then steady love has come in on Strickland over the last few days, pushing Hernandez down from minus 300 down to minus 240. So that's kind of been most of the live action there, or the line movement throughout this week. Euro 3 saying, I don't know why people sleep on Uros. Basically a toss-up that he'll TKO Neal or win by decision. Really? You think Medic could win by decision against Neal? Interesting. I don't believe too heavily in that aspect. I think that... I think if this goes to the cards, it favors Neal. But again, Medic has produced a third round knockout. Never won by decision because he's never been to a fight that has gone to the scorecards. I don't know. I'm not a huge Medic believer. I know he's streaking right now, but I feel like once he fights guys that actually can, crack back, that's where he'll kind of start to fall short. Like who are the guys that he's knocking out? They're not Jeff Neal level, in my opinion. And again, I think a lot of the newer fans as well are not privy to what Jeff Neal is actually capable of. Like even on those fights that he lost against Shavkat Rakhmonov and Ian Machado Gary, close fights. Closer than odds actually indicated as well. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up Uros Medic's record here. It's kind of escaping me what this winning streak looks like for him right now. I think it's like a 2-fight winning streak. Yeah, Gilbert Urbina and almost 40-year-old Muslim Salikov. This is a massive step up in competition to go up against a guy like Jeff Neal, who, again, historically speaking, has solid durability. Only been knocked out once in the UFC, and that was that crazy spinning back elbow that he got hurt by with Carlos Praches. That's what Medic is going to have to land. He's going to have to land some sort of crazy spinning back shit to try to catch Neal here. I think Neal's just faster. I think he's has more power. It's an interesting fight. I do like violence a little bit more. One big farm was saying, when's the last time Jeff Neal KO'd anybody? Vicente Luque, but that was... 1, 2, 3, 4, his 5 fights ago. He won by leg injury against Rafael Dos Anjos back in October 2024. It was a leg injury, but if you watch that fight, he hurt him a few times that caused Dos Anjos to fall awkwardly on his leg. So he was hurting Dos Anjos, right? And then losses to Rakhmonov, Gary, and Praches are nothing to hamper him about. Medic is clearly not on the level of those guys. But Neal does have knockout power, man. 10 of his 16 wins by knockout. I know it hasn't transpired as much as of late, but again, it's because he's only won 2 times in the last 3.5 years. He spent a lot of time out of the cage as well, a lot of time battling his own demons as well. Obviously, that thing that he came out with earlier this week with his battle with addiction. Yeah, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Jeff Neal. And I think that's why we're getting a decent enough line on him, even at minus 190. I really think that's value. Not a lot of people talk about, chalky spots having value. I feel like that is definitely one of those spots that has it because of the skill discrepancy. Yeah, I think we'll see that tonight. I could be wrong. I'll say this. I like the under a good chunk, but I like the Neal spot just as much. So I feel like if you play both of those, you could find a way to still profit no matter how that fight plays out. But yeah, it's going to be a banger. When I was seeing how they're listing the card and kind of putting the bout order together, when I saw that Uroš Medic was in the co-main event, I was like, really? Like, in front of a big crowd, you're giving a guy like Medic, who's only on a 2-fight winning streak, the co-main event spot. A lot of that, though, has to do with the fanfare of Jeff Neal fighting in his home state, being a action fighter. And we know that Uroš Medic is an action fighter, too. And I'm willing to concede and be like, hey, he's deserving of that spot. Especially with the 2 wins that he's on, the violence in which he's been fighting, and then you give him the perfect stylistic matchup. I get it. Yeah, maybe he is deserving of the co-main event spot there. I feel like maybe you could even justify giving it to Melquizael Costa and Dan Ige. Ige is a perennial. He used to be a guy that would constantly be in like Apex main events, but also perennial like co-main eventer, going up against a guy that's on a 5-fight winning streak, who's coming off a big head kick knockout over Morgan Sherrier. So, yeah. One Big Pharma saying, I hate to sidetrack you. Hey, first of all, don't ever apologize for sidetracking me. I'm here for a full hour, so I'm kind of relying on you guys to provide me the topics of conversation you want me to cover on fight day. Any line movements, anything that's kind of just got you thinking, got you wondering. I'm more than happy to entertain any and all questions regarding the card tonight. So don't ever apologize for sidetracking. If I want to finish a thought, I'll finish the thought and then get to the comments as well. So don't worry about that. Just drop the comments and I'll eventually get to them whenever I feel the opportunity is right. But he's saying, but I'm still thinking if Alibi Idris wins and round 2 starts is a good line. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that I think Idris wins by decision. Maybe if his cardio looks as good as it did, during his Niza FC fights, sure, he could probably come through with the 2nd or 3rd round finish. But I think he wins by decision. So yeah, round 2 starts and Idris to win. I'm on board, my guy. I am fully on board. Let me know what kind of line you're getting on that. Because even his money line is at -130, which I think, you don't have to be so greedy in terms of adding the round 2 part to it. Sorry, I just wife text and just want to make sure everything's good. Oh, never mind. But yeah, definitely something to consider there. And I got my guy Alfred waking up as well. You guys might hear him whine for a second. No, come here. Alfred, come here. Say hi to the fans. Alfred, come here. Come on. Alfred. Come here. Come on. Come here. Oh, yeah. I think all underdogs are going to win on this card. Oh, you barking now? Oh, apologies for that. Alfred, hey. All right. I think I've settled him down. I think I got him a little bit riled up. I apologize. All right, let's see what the comment sections are saying here. Yeah, you're right. +130 on round 2, -135 on money line. Yeah. What if he clubs and subs him pretty quickly? One aspect of this fight that I think a lot of people are overlooking in Osborne and Idris, people are saying that if there's going to be a knockout, it's more than likely just going to come from the Osborne side, which, if you're going to put odds on it, I'd probably favor an Osborne knockout more than Idris. But Idris has some hands too. He has some good power, some good explosivity. He can close the pocket pretty quickly. Osborne has been hit in the past. We can obviously see where, especially deeper in fights, he can get cracked. And I wouldn't be surprised if Idris is able to land a big enough shot on him either. So, yeah. If you're going from plus 130 to minus 135 just to make it a little bit safer and play one less leg, I would highly suggest that. I don't think the payoff is worth it there. Euro 3 saying, despite the fighters he fought, losing 3 out of the last 4, I can see Neil taking a very secure win if he can knock out Uros right away. The fight to go to the decision is plus 490, which is solid for 3. Yeah. Well, the reason it's plus 490 is Medic never hitting the scorecards, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with that. By the way, I'm peeking over at the Cage Warriors fights. We are 3.5, 4 minutes into the first round of this fight between Andreas Binder and Otan Jas, and this Brazilian guy is gassed. It is hilarious how you can gas out within 3 or 4 minutes. Absolutely hilarious. Binder, Jas keeps trying to get this fight to the ground so he can suck wind, and Binder's like, no, just get back to your feet. I'm going to try to knock you the fuck out. Absolutely hilarious. But yeah, just going back to the Neil and Medic fight. Plus 490, I'm never going to talk somebody off of plus 490, especially if they see an angle for it. And I can see your reasoning, right? Maybe Neil takes a secure win. Maybe he looks to grapple more than anything or something like that. Or he doesn't let go with too many big shots. I don't know. I feel like he might feel the pressure of the home state as well. So you might want to deliver on like a highlight reel knockout or something like that. But I think once he lands that first big shot, just like Puna did against Medic, I could see him following up and trying to get the finish that way as well. So, yeah. Del Valle finished minus 160, looking better than Moneyline. Yeah. I've, you know what? Earlier in the week, I was quite convicted about the Del Valle inside the distance line. But there's just something about paying chalk on a prop that I have a little bit of an issue with. Like totals and over-unders I'm fine with, but like specific props, like finishing props, I have just a little bit of an issue with. There's been just a few times where I've been bit, I'm trying to think of a few off the top of my head, like more specific props like KO and submission props. There was one where, this one was from back in the day. If you guys remember this, props you guys are real OGs. But when Tyron Woodley faced Darren Till, I believe I played Darren Till moneyline, but then I played Tyron Woodley knockout, and he goes out there and gets the first submission win of his career. Right, kind of gets screwed there. Del Valle should be able to knock out Levitt. Levitt's going to be, pulling guard, maybe rolling for knee bars and shit. He's going to try to do his best to try to get this fight to the ground. He might try to find a way to get the back of Del Valle. And I'm kind of scared that Del Valle maybe doesn't work out of those positions quickly enough to then start to get to his offense. And then maybe he starts to slow just a tad to the point where he can still be defensively responsible, but doesn't have the power to land that big shot on Levitt. So that's kind of my hesitancy in terms of taking the Del Valle inside the distance there. I ended up parlaying him, which I thought was the better way to go. Again, I'm not a big chalk parlayer either, but I feel like there's a few spots here where you could really jump in on the chalk and not have too much of a worry about it. So yeah, but I think Del Valle wins by finish. I would just hope to get a slightly better line than that. By the way, I have already started researching, breaking down, and dropping breakdowns on the Lock of the Night Patreon page for UFC Mexico. I only have 4 fights left to do, which if I find the time between now and the live stream, for the watch party tonight. I might finish it tonight. Otherwise, I'll have it done by tomorrow night. And then you guys should have the MMA lock cast out nice and early on Monday. So stay tuned for that. Decent looking card there. A couple spots that I'm very intrigued by. We do have, I feel maybe slightly more chalk on that card than we have this UFC Houston card, but there are some spots that I'm definitely intrigued by. I feel like my lock of the night play, which I haven't completely settled on as of yet for UFC Mexico, might be a little bit chalkier than I have been releasing the one so far in 2026. So you guys will obviously be able to find that on the Lock of the Night Patreon page, or if you want to wait until Thursday when I drop the best bet segment, you guys can find my Lock of the Night play on that segment there. I am starving. I still got half an hour here with you guys, so I'm gonna gut it out, yuck it up with you guys, and see what's up after that. Probably get something to eat after that. You know, between the fight day live chat and then the live watch party that I do, I think it's almost better that I don't do any work between the two live streams, get my butt out of this chair, go for a walk or something like that, although it's very fucking cold where I'm at, so I can't really go out, or don't want to go out, but I should not be sitting, or at least be in my computer chair between now and when the watch party starts, because I'm going to be in the in my chair for 6+ hours. I think the last event that we did the watch party for, it was like 7 hours. I think UFC 325, he went 7 hours because, obviously the main event went the full 25 minutes with Volkanovski and Lopez. By the way, this Cage Warriors fight, I don't know if you guys are watching Cage Warriors right now as well, but it is so sloppy. Good God. His opponent keeps just falling to his back, and Binder just can't land those big enough shots to put him away. But it looks like this Brazilian is just gonna fall over from exhaustion, and Mark Goddard is just gonna call it. TM33, appreciate you stopping by here, my friend. Let's see. Ramiz will be too well-rounded for Puna. Puna beat 3 guys at welterweight who can't wrestle or grapple like Ramiz. I agree with you. The part that I have a little bit of an issue with is if Puna can stay away from the submission game of Ramiz. Because I'll give Soriano the edge in terms of pure wrestling. I think he's going to be stronger there. I think he can land takedowns if that's what he wants to do. I think Puna's approach in this fight from jump is going to try to be to land that big shot on Ramiz and try to knock him out like he did against Uroš Medic. And if that doesn't work out for him in the first minute or a minute and a half, then he's going to go to his wrestling and try to keep Ramiz on his back. But that's Ramiz where he could find moments to throw up submissions, cause reversals, and start to make Puna slow down. But that one I was kind of skeptical about. I like the under in that one as well. I definitely like the under in the Ramiz fight. But yeah, plus 105 now, a lot of money coming in on Puna, so there is some decent plus money that you can get on Ramiz now. But yes, I do think this is the best fighter that Puna is fighting, or at least a fighter that's in the best stage of their career. I thought he fought Miguel Baeza a little bit past when Baeza was at his best. Obviously, Nikolai Veretennikov, not the greatest fighter. He can go out there and knock out the corpse of Nico Price, but he's not going to be able to stop a takedown for his life and then end up spending almost 14 minutes on his back with Soriano grinding him out there. But yeah, I think Ramiz wins. One Big Pharma saying Alden Gurule is a trap, ain't it? I kind of feel that way too. I was huge on Gurule when he came into the UFC off of the Contender Series. Pulling off that short notice upset against a high-level wrestler like Nick Piccinini, I thought that was a tremendous performance. But even watching his tape from Fury, he's a fun fighter, high active, but it's just his lack of athleticism at times that causes him some issues. A little bit of fight IQ mistakes as well, like when he got knocked out by Ode Osborne after winning that first round on all scorecards. And then in the Jesus Aguilar fight, not being assertive enough. I think that's what kind of cost him the fight that night. So here against Korea, Korea is the better striker. I feel like Gurul can put on a better pace, but I feel like he's just going to constantly get clipped. And then ultimately, when this fight hits the scorecards, that's where we're going to see Korea get his hand raised because he ended up landing more damage. So Gurul is going to have to be more active, engage in the clinch a little bit more, maybe try to get a few takedowns. But I feel like the athleticism advantage and striking edge of Korea is going to get the job done. The line is just too wide, though, right? There's a lot of disrespect on the Gurul side of things because he's 0-2 in the UFC, and I can understand why. But if you go back and watch his fights from the Fury days and even the Contender Series fight, you know he's capable of more than what we've been seeing as of late. So, that fight is a pass for me. Almost, a little part of me wants to see Gurul win because I am a fan of his, but I couldn't get over the finish line in terms of actually shooting on him. Rick Callan in the chat saying, a post-Turkish hair transplant Pyfer gonna be a new mythical fighter, do you think? After the Turkish hair transplant, he might be a new fighter. Like, is this like the blonde Brunson thing that we're kind of talking about? Obviously, we know, like, being serious, we know that type of shit doesn't really have much of an effect on a fighter. I think he's just powerful, right? Like, he used to be a heavy grappler, but then he started trusting his hands, started trusting his power, and that's kind of what's helped him get to this point of fighting a guy like Adesanya. I still think there are holes in his game. He just needs to fight somebody that can eat his power and then just provide a better game. I think Adesanya not looking the best right now. Obviously getting knocked out by Nasruddin Imavov kind of drops his stock even more. I feel like Pyfer is going to end up being the favorite in the fight against Adesanya, but it's all about Pyfer's power, which, that will work for a lot of fighters, as it's working for him. Maybe I feel like he's always been, a mythical fighter in a sense. The Hermansson fight was kind of just exposing him a little bit, right? If you come with a good enough game plan and you can avoid his big power, you can get the better of him. But guys just have not been able to stand up to his power as of late. Excuse me. I'm choking on my spit. Fuck. One big farmer saying over 1.5 is better than Korea moneyline and likely. What do you think? I think the over 1.5 hits. It's possible. It's also possible that Korea could clip Gurul and put him down. But if you put in a gun to my head, I think the over 1.5 should hit here. Minus 350 though, I don't like paying that type of chalk on a total like that, especially when I do see a potential for that finish. Gurul been finished by Osborne. I know Korea is not a crazy knockout puncher, but I believe his speed and athleticism advantage with his striking could be enough for him to catch Gurule. So I wouldn't be so keen on that minus 350. Euro 3 saying no point in putting minus 350 worth it ever, not worth it ever. I disagree in terms of not worth it ever. I agree with you, maybe not this specific spot, but there are spots where minus 350 is worth it. And those spots are definitely parlayable. I don't think there are many. Like, I feel like Del Valle this weekend over minus 350 is worth parlaying. I'm trying to recall who the other one was off the top of my head, but I can't get to it right now. But yeah, more often than not, I would agree with you that minus 350 is not worth it. But there are certain spots where I feel like you have to give it a little bit more thought and maybe justify that it could be worth it. In that specific fight with the over 1.5 in the Korea fight, maybe not. One big farmer is saying building a long shot parlay for shits and giggles. It's always fun to put together a long shot parlay. Always fun. Speaking of which, there was a guy in my Discord that suggested that I put together a cycle parlay for them. So I just got to put that on my to-do list here so I don't forget that before the fights kick off. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the watch party tonight as well. A few things that I kind of want to test out with OBS and some graphics and stuff. So if you guys have the opportunity to stop on by for that, make sure you guys. Oh my God! Wow! Courtesy of Nolan King, one of the more reliable reporters in the MMA world. Jailton Almeida has signed with, long dramatic pause, ACA. That is a horrible idea for Jailton Almeida. Why the fuck would you sign with ACA? Horrible, horrible, horrible idea. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ACA, but ACA is like the top Russian organization out there. I think it's kind of partly owned by Chechen dictator Kadyrov or whatever that guy's name is. But like that is a graveyard for Brazilian fighters. Like they bring in Brazilian fighters to lose easily because they just have such strong Russian fighters who can just thwart those guys in their grappling, take them to the ground, and have absolutely no success trying to throw up submissions or have any grappling success against their Russian fighters. That is a horrible idea. Like he might be able to pull off an upset here or there, but he is not going to be successful at ACA. Furthermore, in that tweet, multiple sources say there were brief discussions with PFL, but instead it's off to Russia. God damn. I want to know how much money ACA is throwing out around there. To sign a guy like Almeida, I'm sure he's not, getting... I'd be surprised if they gave him 6 figures. Absolutely crazy. Crazy to decipher that. By the way, high-level prospect here on Cage Warriors fight just about to start. Alex Keogh taking on Gabriel Ramos. Keogh, I think, went like 15-1 as an amateur. He's now 3-0 as a pro, finishing, I believe, all of his opponents, specifically in the pro game. But very good grappler, and he's already gotten his opponent to the ground. He's calling him back to his feet. Interesting. All right, let's see here what you guys are saying. Euro 3 saying, dude, I was mid-typing Jailton. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. Kloss MMA, appreciate you stopping by. Strickland is pulling the upset. He is a stylistic nightmare for Fluffy. Interesting. Again, I feel like people aren't giving Strickland the respect he deserves in this fight. He is hard to hold down. He's hard to get a hold of. The issue is there are not many grapplers like Fluffy. So if Fluffy's durability holds up and his cardio holds up, I think it could be tough for Strickland, but not to the point where it's like minus 240 for Fluffy. So I don't hate anybody taking a big underdog shot on Strickland. I think he could be worth it. I don't know what my guy Alfred's barking at, so I just wanted to mute it real quick so you guys didn't have to deal with that. Robert Saladino saying, is Strickland's act getting tired? Good man. Don't really see a stoppage by Hernandez, but Strickland could go cardio him. I got a lot of flack for saying that if there was going to be a finish or if somebody was going to gas out, that it would be Fluffy. And again, it's more so the way that it would occur, not from him gassing out from wrestling. We know he can do that for 25 minutes, but what I was trying to say is that if Strickland constantly gets away from the grappling and forces Fluffy to strike with him, that will give Strickland the opportunity to start working the body and, battering him, and damage and stress causes a fighter to slow down, right? So that's that's kind of the angle that I was taking there. I think Fluffy wins, but like there is a realm in which Strickland can stop the takedowns, get away from the grappling, and outstrike him. Rashad MBD, appreciate you stopping by here, my friend, saying Strickland shut down Imavov on short notice. I feel like Fluffy isn't getting it done. I don't know, man. I wouldn't just go because of this specific matchup and that thing that Strickland will beat Fluffy. It's obviously helpful, but Strickland's a guy that's always training, always in shape. I feel like he, especially at that stage in his career where he was like pre-champion, still building a name for himself, getting those main event opportunities. And then obviously, I think, if I remember correctly, that was right after he had lost to Jared Cannonier by split decision. It was like the last event of the year that he lost to Cannonier, and then the first event of the year he got the opportunity against Imavov. There's an absolute war going down in Cage Warriors right now, by the way, with Keo and Ramos. Keo being a lot more reckless than I expected him to be as a minus 900 favorite, getting hurt, maybe not hurt, but getting hit a few times. But he's trying to bring a war here against Ramos to try to get the finish there. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Euro 3 saying, once you lose the title, you either want it back or become a money fighter. Fluffy wants the title, so I'll lean for Alex. Yeah. I don't know. Strickland strikes me as one of those guys that will compete his hardest no matter who he's going up against. Like, he's not just going to fade to the background and just be like a gatekeeper for the title contention. I'm sure he wants to fight for the title again. But I do agree with you. There are some fighters where once they reach the pinnacle of the sport and they end up losing it, they don't really have that drive to get back to it. But Strickland doesn't strike me as one of those guys. One big farmer saying Edwards is finish only or void, so finish only prop minus 200. I think if there is a finish in that fight, it's probably coming from her, and I don't mind minus 200. What I would kind of counter with there, again, this is the thing with grapple heavy fighters. When you have a fighter that can take fights to the ground, and that's often what they do, the possibility of them either getting a TKO or submission are kind of 50-50. I would say TKO is a little bit more favored because we see that more often than not. But Edwards can threaten with submissions. We saw her get that third round submission victory against Tamiris Vidal. She can threaten with submissions, and I think that's going to be your path to victory here. So I feel like maybe a flyer on her submission prop around plus 750 if you can get that number. And then also maybe a little bit more on her finish-only prop could prove to be fruitful in case she ends up getting a TKO instead of a submission. But, I really believe if there is a finish in that fight, it's probably coming from the Edwards side. She's not going to gas out and get finished the way that Melissa Mullins got finished against Nora Kernol. And Kernol, again, I think she's been an overachiever in the UFC. The few wins that she does have in the promotion, I feel like she shouldn't have gotten, but she got them. Even the one she had against Jocelyn Edwards in her debut, that was a sketchy decision. I could see how the judges got there, but I think for the most part, people would assume that Edwards deserved to win that fight. And that's why Edwards now is minus 400, right? In the first fight, she was, I think, minus 120, minus 125. So even after losing that fight and now rematching her, 2.5 years later, she's a 80% implied now compared to 55% when they first threw down. But obviously a lot of that has to do with the recent form of both women. Kernol, I believe, coming off of a loss. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was against, but I'm quite certain she's coming off of a loss. And then Edwards, obviously, 3-fight winning streak, but also I believe all three of those wins coming by finish. So, yeah. Recency bias has a lot to do with fighters. Recency bias is how you can get great numbers on underdogs, how you might be able to get good enough numbers even on favorites that should be bigger favorites. So those are definitely things to take into consideration. So I think that's why you have to be sure to take more of a macro view on these things than micro view. Shout out to my guy, I don't know if you guys were around long enough to know my guy, Scott Shelvach. He's a guy that, instilled a lot of wisdom in the MMA community, especially the betting community, with like gambling economics and those types of things. Whereas, people love to just pick winners, right? That's what the casual gambler wants to do. Don't give me value spots. Don't give me, don't give me the winner, but then bet the guy you think is going to lose. A lot of people think like that, and I understand. Most people just want to hit the big bucks in one night, but luckily with mixed martial arts, there's an event almost every single weekend. So you can play the long game. You can take a shot on a big underdog that you think, you're predicting to lose, but think the odds are just wide enough that it's worth a shot there. So, yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Close MMA saying there's a 0% chance that Jocelyn Edwards loses today. I tend to agree with you there, my friend. The issue that I have is in case Kernol can reverse out of those positions again and leave those lasting effects on the judges like she did in the first fight, Might be kicking yourself to be like, fuck, maybe she didn't have a 0% chance. But like, again, on the surface, I agree with you. The skeptic in me, the analyst in me, the cautious gambler in me gives even guys that I don't think have a chance to win a little bit of a thought. You got to be a little bit open-minded with it. And there's been so many times where people are just like, why are you picking this guy? Why are you betting this guy? Why are you betting this prop? It's more so being open-minded to it. Even if you don't agree, let the thought, simmer a little bit in your mind and then still decide and go on from there. Euro 3 saying, thanks for going live, by the way. Very appreciated. No problem, brother. Every UFC fight day, barring any, personal shit, every UFC fight day, 1 p.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern right here. And then Tuesdays, no matter if it's a UFC fight week or not, 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern, I go live as well. So Tuesdays and Fridays guaranteed I'm going live. And then at least 2 days a week, 2 events per month doing the watch party where I'm just having some drinks, watching the fights and bets go down and having a good time with the community. So hope to see your name in the chat more often than not as we start going deeper into 2026. My guy Klaus MMA saying Strickland has the best mechanical technical get-ups in the history of the 185-pound division. I could see that, right? Remember, Dricus du Plessis landed 6 takedowns in their first fight and only controlled that fight for like barely 2 minutes. To land 6 takedowns and only get 2 minutes of control time is crazy. That goes to show how quickly Strickland can get back to his feet. If he was fighting a traditional wrestler here, I would probably be more than willing to shoot on Strickland at plus 200. The issue is there aren't many grapplers out there like Fluffy. The guy wrestles, re-wrestles, mat returns, has an insane gas tank, constantly stays in his opponent's face, and Strickland's not a big power puncher. He's more of a death by 1,000 cuts kind of guy. So that's kind of the qualm that I have there. Klaus MMA saying, is Mandeep the number one Punjabi or MMA YouTuber? I don't know if there's somebody else named Mandeep that you're referring to, or if you're talking about me, which my name is Manpreet, Manpreet. I don't know many other Punjabi MMA YouTubers out there. I know we have a few Indians. I know Kunath, I believe, is Indian. I can't think of any other ones. Are there other Indian guys? I know there's a few guys on like TikTok that are killing it. There's my guy UFC Council, who I've been talking to a lot through Instagram DMs. I'm not on TikTok whatsoever, but I know he kills it over there on TikTok or MMA TikTok. But we keep in touch through IG. He's like an Indian guy. Yeah, not a lot of Indians in the space. A lot of, bigotry and bullshit out there, considering, what kind of fan base the MMA world usually brings. So there's a lot of stupidity I have to deal with here and there, especially when I have my bug on and stuff. But again, I know it comes with the territory. I don't give a fuck. People can say whatever the fuck they want. Ernie Villa, appreciate you, or Ernie Avila. Appreciate you stopping by. You think Strickland will get 17 significant strikes in the first round? Good question. I don't know. I feel like his chances of landing significant strikes goes up as the fight goes on. I don't know so much about the first round. Good question. I can't give you a solid enough answer to like advise you to go over under 17 significant strikes. That's a tough one. Very, very tough one. I think he gets better as the fight goes on. That's the thing. Klaus MMA saying Pick'em MMA says he's Punjabi. Huh. didn't. I guess if I'm not mistaken, I believe that guy's from Montreal. Um, I could see it. I've never really conversed too much with him. He used to be in my comment section and stuff way back in the day, but yeah, I don't converse much with the community as much anymore. Euro 3 saying, yeah, I got locked out of my old YouTube. Used to watch you during lockdowns. What was your old YouTube username? Maybe that might ring a bell if you don't mind sharing that. Appreciate the love and support, my guy. Tom Wahel saying, but we've seen Hernandez get hurt before, and Strickland will swarm if he lands something that hurts Hernandez. Strickland TKO is very live. Yeah, we know that Hernandez has a little bit of an issue in terms of his body, right? Like that's where Marcus Perez was able to hurt him and then get that submission right quickly after. That's how Kevin Holland was able to finish Alexander Hernandez. But the one rebuttal I'll kind of say is that we've seen Hernandez fight harder punchers than Strickland since those losses, and he's been able to weather storms and he's been able to stick to his game. Strickland's not a big power puncher, but like you said, if he hurts him a little bit, he'll be able to really just stay on it and possibly get him out of there with a barrage of shots. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Strickland has the ability to finish him with one big shot, but if he hurts him to the body, he'll definitely swarm and try to get the finish that way. It's all about how Hernandez tries to recover now, and if he's trying to put himself through simulations. Like, will he be able to get in on a takedown attempt deep enough to try to regain his wits about him? One big farmer saying Imran Khan still touring off his 2009 album is such a win. Was just talking to my Punjabi friend about this the other day. Yo, Imran Khan is a name that I haven't heard in a long time, and I will say this. There's only one song that I really know from him that I really fucked with. And while Keo getting a nasty TKO win just now over there on Cage Warriors. Amplifier, right? Amplifier from Imran Khan is a banger no matter what party you're going to. And I think that's the only song I really know from him. I never got super into Punjabi music. Like back in the day, Sukhshinder Shinda, Lamber Hussain Puri, Jazzy B, all that stuff. Growing up, I was kind of into it, but I've really fallen off over the last couple of years. Maybe Karan Aujla, I give a little bit of a listen to here and there. Sidhu Moosewala, like I start to get into him closer to when he died. But yeah, lately just not so much into it. I don't know. I can't. Johnny Nathan is pretty cool with Inderpal Moga. I don't mind those guys here and there. But I'm more into my hip-hop. I'm into my J. Cole. I'm into my even Weeknd. I love the Weeknd. I recently really started to get into Tame Impala, who I had never heard about until they just dropped that latest album with Deadbeat. Love Tame Impala. I'm a white boy. Born and raised in Canada, hence, lack of accent and all that type of stuff. Obviously, I still love my Punjabi culture and all that stuff, which is why I still wear more of my bug and all that. But music-wise and entertainment-wise, more so a Canadian more than anything. All right, I'm going to take these last few questions and I'm going to roll out of here. A reminder, I am going to be back for the watch party, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be going live here. It'll be a members-only chat, but I will be gifting 5. I think I'll have the ability to gift 5 subs. I don't know if I have to wait for a month to pass by or something like that. But if I have the ability to gift 5 subs, I will. Otherwise, it's only $2 a month to take part in the members only live chat, and you don't have to worry about it being swarmed by all thousands and thousands of viewers. We're gonna chill. We're gonna have some drinks. We're gonna chat it up and watch the fights. All right, let's take these last few questions and I'll get out of here. Klaus MMA saying, I think Strickland gets 14 significant strikes round 1, then turns it up. I agree. They lunge harder, but not nearly as technical. Oh, they punch harder, but not nearly as technical as Strickland. I agree with that. It's him finding the right spot, I think, would be the way to go. Hit that body, hurt him, and then try to find moments to swarm him. I think that would be Strickland's best path to victory. Bad News Bandits, that does trigger a memory. Shout out, my guy Euro. Hope to see you in here more often than not. Big Farmer saying Nav the Goat. Never got into Nav. There's maybe one song, I think it was called Lonely or something like that I really like from him. Never really got into him. I know he's a Toronto guy too, right? I think Rexdale. Klosterman is saying, do you fuck with Key Glock? I've never heard of Key Glock. With my hip hop, I've also stayed very Drake, obviously being from Toronto, gotta love me some Drake. J. Cole. I really like that Mexican OT. He's a guy that's kind of grown on me in the last 2 years or so. And then I'll stick with my classics. I'll go to like the 2000s hip hop, 2010s hip hop. I'd still bump Kanye West from back in the day, like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, my favorite album of all time. That's kind of the era of hip hop I usually stay with, and those artists. There aren't many new artists that I've really gotten on in terms of the hip hop game. PWS saying Judice plus 2.5. Well, I feel like it should be at least plus 3.5, right? Plus 2.5, I feel like should be a decent enough spot if that fight hits the scorecards. But again, I'm staying away from the chalk. A lot of people love them some Judice here. They love the under. I don't mind the under. The spot that I'm kind of thinking is low key is Miller's submission plus 1800. She is a better BJJ specialist than Judice, but Judice has obviously shown good enough grappling defense that she might be able to thwart that. But if Miller is able to get a hold of her and she can get her back, it's possible she can get a rear naked choke. And we saw that video of her earlier this week, being so offended by the betting odds and stuff, right? Normally I don't take too much from that either, and she's probably still going to get smoked, but maybe she has a little bit more of an incentive to just push through some of these hard spots to get to that grappling, and from there we know she has an edge. For me, a minus 800 needs to be somebody that is better in all aspects of MMA than that fighter. I get all MMA fights start in the striking realm, so that's obviously why Judice will have a big advantage there. But like Miller has a deceiving strength about her. One big farmer is saying Lebosniani dub. Phil Rowe looked bad on scale. He did. He ended up making the weight afterwards, but he did look bad on the scale. I think Lebosniani's speed, athleticism, and then eventually his BJJ is going to end up being too much for Phil Rowe, and we see him get the submission there. So I don't mind him at all. Tyler Betts, appreciate you stopping by, my friend. Unfortunately, you stopped by right at the ending. I'm going to be wrapping this thing up right now. Again, I'll be back at 5 p.m. Eastern right before the first prelim starts. I'm going to be going live for the Watch Party Buddies live stream. We're going to have some drinks. We're going to watch the fights, hopefully cash some tickets as well. So please swing on by for that. And again, I will try to gift some memberships if I have the opportunity. You know what? Let me see if I can actually do it here. Oh, no, I don't want to send it out right now. I'd rather wait to get to the Watch Party chat. So come through. I'll try to send out some memberships there if I'm able to. Otherwise, it's only $2 a month. Come and join a fun, solid community, positive vibes, and let's have some fun. All right. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I'll catch you guys at 5 p.m. Eastern when the fights kick off. See you guys then.